Hi students, welcome to this video model. In this video model, you will understand various types of written tests conducted in the selection process. So these tests you can see in two ways. As a learner, tomorrow when are you going to face any employment uh, selection process? So these tests you can use it as an applicant. On the other hand, you can use the same even when you become a manager. For selecting the right candidate, you can just keep all these in your mind to select the right candidate for your organization. Right? With this, let us just look at the selection written test. Right? So in this model, we will understand the different types of tests, historical background, and then various the purposes of these tests and its validity and reliability, and what we are going to test out of these written tests. So we'll just look at all these and try to learn from this model, right? First of all, if you just look at the use of the psychological tests in selection, it is for objectivity, right? Good psychological tests are standardized on a larger sample and then provided normative data across a wide range of demographic and then age cohorts. So, well-selected tests will allow you to demonstrate the talent that may otherwise not be evident, right? So that is the one, the objectivity and then validity also. So psychometric tests are more valid methods of assessment than the interviews, right? Academic achievements and reference checks, and when utilized the combination, for example, the assessment centers are highly predictive or the future job performance. So you can see the validity of the test also. The cost wise, the cost of the selection, errors is largely for both the employers and then employees. Psychometric tests help to minimize the cost while maximizing the potential fit between the candidates and then the job. So these are the advantages and the uses of this psychoanalytical tests and then psychometric tests. Right. If you just look at the brief history of the test, the comparison of human attributes and then differences have a very long history. Hippocrates, 400 BC, attempted to theoretically define the four basic temperament types sanguine, optimistic, melancholic, depressed, and choleric, irritable, and phlegmatic, listless or sluggish. So these are the four stages identified with the human, right? And so that was the 400 BC earlier. So then Galton, 19th century, measured the human individual, the differences in terms of ability to discriminate between stimulus. So the stimulation is not the same for all of us. So reaction varies from person to person. The stimulation in the sense reaction to a situation that is not the same from everyone. Right. Then be int. So devised the test to measure the differences in the specific human abilities. Now numerous tests measure the specific abilities, strength and then competencies. Right? Army Alpha and then Beta test in World War One developed out of an urgent need of selected personnel with the specific aptitude for training in specialized and then studying the roles. Right. So these are the another important thing. So today, psychological tests widely used in selection process. So we'll just look at what are the different types of the tests that are there in the list. Like psychological tests, mainly a section, the selection process measures the personality characteristics of applicants that are related to the future job performance. So personality tests typically measures on or one or more five personality the dimensions like extraversion or emotional stability, introversion and agreeableness and conscientiousness and then openness to experience. So these are the different facets that we are studying out of the psychological test, right? And then if you just look at right, if you just look at the different types of tests that are there, no selection tests like no, intelligence test, aptitude test, personality test, achievement test, and simulation test, assessment test, geography test, polygraphy test, integrity test. So these are the different tests no, are available to conduct, no, to identify, to assess the right candidate in the no, selection process. Right. When you look at the types of psychological tests, the psychological tests fall into several categories like aptitude test. It is to it is the test is an individual capacity to learn a particular skill. It refers to the potential that a person has to the profit from the kind of the training, right? So it is mainly to assess the capacity to learn a particular skill, that is aptitude test, right? Cognitive test is which is measures the intellectual, mental, and then aptitude, and the motor test is these tests check the hand-eye coordination of the employees. So these are the tests, at the aptitude level we will conduct. And then achievement test is it helps to measure the proficiency that a person has been able to achieve in the future. So these are the tests which we are conducting in the organizations. So intellectual test is it attempts to measure the intellectuality of the individual. It is based on the ability to understand the world around us and simulate its functions and apply this knowledge to enhance the quality of life. Or afraid no Wetland said about intelligence, it enables the individual to profit by error without being slaughtered by it. Right? Intelligence, therefore, is a measure of your potential, not a measure of what you have learned as an achievement test. Right? And as it is supposed to be independent of culture. So IQ is equal to mental no, age by actual age into 100. So, for example, a 6 years old child with a mental age of 6 would have an IQ of 100. That average IQ score, a 6 years old child with a mental age of 9 would have an IQ of 150. So, today, intelligence is measured according to the individual deviation from the standardized norms, with 100 being the average. So, these are the no, various items of the intellectual tests, right? Further, if you just look at the neuropsychological tests, it's attempt to measure the deficits in the cognitive functioning, like your ability to think, to speak, reason, etc. So that may result from some sort of brain damage, or such as stroke or a brain injury, right? Occupational test is it attempt to match your interest with the interest of the person's career. So the logic is here is that if the thing that interested you in life match up with says that this no interest the most school teachers, then you might make a good school teacher yourself. So like this, you can see the occupational the test is used to find out the candidate whether the candidate is interested on the particular task or not, right? And simulation test is it means the ability of the person to face various the problems while at work. So these tests are used for hiring managers. So that is a stimulation. So the graphic test is those tests involve using a trained evaluator to flourish a person's handwriting to assess the person's personality and then emotional makeup. So that is graphology. So graphology is used to test the signature and then handwriting of the candidate. That integrity test is these tests are designed to measure employees' honesty, to predict those who are more likely to steal from an employer or otherwise act in a manner unacceptable to the organization. In its many yes or no type questions are asked. So these are the various employment related tests. Then if you just look at the further personality, the test, it attempts to measure the basic personality styles and are most used to research of forensic setting to help the clinical diagnosis. So the personality test is to measure the individual the characteristics and then the qualities, attitude, thought process, thinking, and then various skill sets, and then we just follow various the steps like MMPI, right? And then we use sometimes Rochest, the test composed of several the cards of in bots. So like that, you can see the tests are there to identify the characteristics of an individual by doing the personality test. So specific the clinical test is it attempts to measure the specific clinical matters such as the current level of anxiety or depression. So these are the various issues. So finally, if you just look at the advantage and the disadvantage of these the test, first of all, you look at the use of this. So evaluation of the right candidate is the best use, and the proper selection of the candidate and identifying the candidate's personality. So these are the three main the benefits of this test. And advantages, that you just accurately find out the candidate by using the various tests, that is the personality or even achievement or even intellectual, right, and then occupation related. So all these category wise, we can just test the candidate and then find out. That is the advantage. So disadvantage is the difficulty in measuring the personality traits. So that maybe may not be well defined, and sometimes so all these are the time in the given point of time. So later on you will find, so you will find the assessment may not be the correct one. The lack of diversity in the selection of the candidates, and then cost may be no the high, and then lack of evidences in support of validity of this the test. So these are the drawbacks of these tests. So however, so these days the test has become a kind of mandatory for all types of jobs. It is better to use these to just select the candidates in a fair and then in a proper manner. Right. With this, let me just stop here, and then looking forward to meet you in video 49. So thank you very much.